After an ugly start, calmer heads prevailed. A week of civil unrest in Columbus. Joining us on Columbus on the Record this week, Laura Bischoff, State House reporter for the Dayton Daily News, Terry Casey, Republican strategist, and Sam Gresham of Common Cause Ohio. It has been an extraordinary week of protest in Central Ohio, a level of civil unrest we have not seen since the Civil Rights and Vietnam War eras. Today marks the 9th day of major protest over the death of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police and the ongoing anger about police treatment of African Americans and people of color. By and large, the protests have been peaceful. By the hundreds, perhaps thousands, a diverse crowd has marched up and down High Street, rallied at the State House and on OSU's campus, calling for reforms for independent oversight of police. At the start, many storefronts downtown and along High Street were damaged, windows smashed, shops looted. Police used tough tactics, freely using tear gas, pepper spray, and wooden projectiles. It brought criticism from outside and inside city government.
I know that this past weekend brought incidents from the Columbus Division of Police that did not meet my or the community's expectations for professionalism and protection. We fell short on protecting public safety while allowing peaceful protests.
Somber tone by Mayor Andrew Ginther. Sam Gresham, you have seen these protests before. You have participated, organized similar protests. This one seemed different. It seems different. Do you agree?
I agree. It's significantly different. One, the participation of a lot of young white people. This issue in the past has not always drawn them to it. But it is also among the pandemic, which complicated. And another variable is that young people were not in school, they were not at work, so there were a lot larger pool to participate in this demonstration than we've had in previous years. Now, the police are right on cue. They do what they do.
Terry Casey, the police tactics really haven't changed when it comes to these protests over the years. They come in with, not to protect themselves, they argue, and I think legitimately so, wearing tactical gear, helmets, and ready for battle, but that does not help keep a lid on tension.
Well, it's tough for the police to figure out exactly what to do. And last Saturday morning, my wife and I drove down High Street through campus, the short north, and all around the downtown, roughly between 10 a.m. and 10:30. And I was very impressed, to kind of back up with what Sam said. At that time, there was about 2,000 people marching around the State House, very organized. I mean, to turn out that number of people, 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, was impressive. And things were very calm between the police and the protesters at that time. Obviously, later in the day, as happened on Friday night, there were a small minority of people who were throwing rocks, busting out windows, and that's part of what creates a dilemma for the police. Do you protect the police? But when you protect them with certain things, it presents a militaristic image, which is not always best for the relations between the community and the police.
Laura, from a public official standpoint and government response standpoint, I was struck early on. Now, the video of the death of George Floyd is extraordinary, and there's very little gray area there. But even among defenders of police, they were pretty quick to condemn the actions of that officer and what happened there, the officers there. And even they were fairly quick to condemn, or at least criticize, the actions of police in the early days of these protests.
Yeah, I think that the almost 9-minute video is really what it's just irrefutable what happened, and I think it just showed absolutely no excuse. And I think that was really what made this particular incident so much more powerful and more resonating with so many people across the country.
And I think, Mike, the beginning of these demonstrations were organic. They were not really planned. And as days went on, you saw that they were different in how they executed their plan. There was a lot less violence and looting because they established those structures, what we had when we demonstrated. One thing we did we tried to identify people that we thought were going to be problems. 2, we had a quick rapid response team whose rule and responsibility was to identify those people and talk to them and try and keep them from doing something. That's the difference between an organic versus a planned demonstration.
Terry, you were down there Saturday morning. I was downtown at the State House on Sunday morning. And the first thing I noticed after going by all the boarded up windows was the police officers there, but they were in their regular uniforms. They were not in their tactical gear. They were across the street just sort of hanging out watching a very loud protest. Were the officers you saw Saturday in soft uniforms? Were they in tactical uniforms? And by casting away those uniforms, did they lower the tension level and help keep a lid on things in the last couple of days? Terry,
is that to Sam or to me?
To you, Terry. What did you see Saturday? Did you see the tactical gear Saturday
morning? It was a fairly limited police presence, and it was definitely in the soft, regular uniforms. But again, as happened in Charlottesville, Virginia, happens in other cities, there's always that question to the police leadership: do you switch to something else, and when? But at least what I observed Saturday morning, it was soft uniforms and everything was relatively calm. Now, I saw later, I think on Saturday night, the police were using what they called flying squads of 15 or 20 officers on bicycles, and they could use the bicycles in a tactical way to screen off areas. So the police were using some new and different tactics, but again, it's a tough dilemma for a mayor and a police chief. When do you observe and protect the protesters? When do you shift into a higher level of preparedness for protection for the officers?
Laura,
Terry.
Go ahead, Laura. Go ahead, Laura.
Go ahead, Laura. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that I've been going down to the State House to cover legislative sessions and other matters. And it's interesting. The Highway Patrol has a really big presence inside the State House. I mean, dozens and dozens of officers. And they have both soft, officers in their gray uniforms, their soft uniforms, but then they also have ones who are ready to go in tactical gear, and they just have like huge duffel bags full of gear, and they are ready to, go out as needed at a moment's notice.
But the gear is on standby, Laura. It appears.
Well, like the riot shields and the helmets and things like that, they have it right there. They're all in the atrium, kind of in ready mode. They're not fully suited up, but they're in their kind of like body armor suits. And then as needed, I was leaving the State House on Tuesday evening, and a whole bunch of them came up through the rotunda, with shields and helmets and the rest of it.
I want to talk about these. Go ahead, Sam, real quick.
I think that equipment antagonizes young demonstrators who've had not much to do with it. And plus, it depends on the faux pas that the police make early. Pepper spraying a member of Congress, the president of city council, and a county commissioner was a major faux pas. And the question is, how did the person in command of that officer let that happen?
Yeah, from the video, it seemed like it was a spur of the moment thing. He may not have realized who they were that he was pepper spraying, but he was pretty quick with the pepper spray, as other videos have shown officers to be, and even indiscriminately shooting pepper spray at folks who apparently were just walking away. I want to get to these outside agitators. Every public official, from the president down, blames outside agitators for sparking the looting and the violence and the destruction in these protests. But we looked at the arrest records, and 89 folks were arrested from the first Thursday for about 6 days. 89 people arrested by Columbus police. 84 were from Central Ohio. So, Terry, where are the outside agitators?
Well, I thought you did a good job of asking that question for the mayor, and he didn't have a very good answer when you filled in for Ann Fisher earlier this week on the radio program. Now, supposedly there's a bus from Vermont that a woman, and there were supposedly ball bats, rocks, bricks in that. I don't know whether anybody would be prosecuted. The other little wrinkle, because of the virus right now, a lot of people were wearing masks. So I don't know on Joyce Beatty, when she's wearing a mask, whether the police officer recognized her or not, but clearly people wearing masks is another little challenge if you're trying to follow up and enforce things. But clearly, the mayor and the claim that it was all outside agitators throwing rocks doesn't seem to be held up by the evidence.
Yeah, we can't get the records on the search warrant of that bus. We've been trying to get them. Police have not been very forthcoming with those records. And Sam, you've heard this story before, the outside agitators. I joked, if every city is being overrun by outside agitators, well, where are they all coming from? Are we swapping our agitators between cities?
Well, that's a playbook of the establishment in the police department to give themselves credibility and to discredit the people in the movement. It's always violence and outside agitators. And in most cases, when you examine the information on the arrest, the majority of the people are from the community that they're in. You have to remember that the police and the establishment has to set up its own propaganda to defend themselves, to say this problem doesn't exist in our city that they're coming here to demonstrate. Oh, yes, it does. And it exists in spades in your community. And that's why the majority of the people out there demonstrating are from your community.
And every community, every walk of life has bad people. It's just a fact of life. So why not just say, well, we got people here who did wrong things and we're going to address it and move on. Anyway, speaking of moving on, where do we go from here? Columbus police have had a long, difficult relationship with the city's minority community. In the late 90s, the Justice Department sued the city over police misconduct. Past analyses have found per capita, Columbus police shoot people more often than police in large cities like New York. A study just last year found that police use force disproportionately against minorities. Now calls for tougher civilian oversight are growing. For now, the chief of police has agreed to a citizen advisory panel with members chosen by elected officials.
But they can look at how the police responded to this situation, what the decisions were, the charging decisions, how we reached this charge over that charge, how we used force or used different tactics to make apprehensions. And they can advise me because I'm the one who can set policy for the division.
Terry Casey, an advisory committee that meets once a month is not going to satisfy protesters. What does the city have to do to increase independent oversight? Will they increase independent oversight over the police department?
That's the $1 million question. And I pulled up and talked to some experts, including Larry James, who used to be safety director for Columbus, African American, and he got me some of the statistics. 25 major cities across America already have some type of review board, but then when you start looking through all the cities, and Columbus has none of that, but it varies all over the place, and there's key questions. Does this body have subpoena power? Do they have staff? Can they compel witnesses? What's the evidence disclosure? Can people cross-examine people? What's the due process? So there's a lot of questions in what you do. And interestingly, among the major cities in America, the one that has the most staff to support their civilian review board, or the equivalent of it, is Minnesota, which is a city with an African-American black police chief who's had some problems. So clearly there's going to be more civilian review. And of course, ultimately, the Columbus City Council, 7 members, 4 of whom are African American, is in a way the board of directors in charge of the budget and operations of the police department.
Sam Gresham, you've likely called for this in the past. The mayor wants one, the city council president wants one, Kevin Boyce on the Franklin County Commission wants one. Is the police union going to agree to one in their contract negotiations?
And man, we caught a gimme. The contract is up for renegotiations now. I think it expires in December and they start negotiating. I think that's going to be on the table. And Terry raised a major point. You can have these commissions, but if they don't have subpoena power and they don't have staff that's independent from the police department and the city attorney's office, you don't solve the problem, because the incestual nature of the problem is because they all know each other.
Laura, you did a story this week looking at what's changed since a Dayton area man was killed in a Walmart. This is the African-American man who was carrying a BB gun. You looked at what's changed as far as training, oversight, and what did you find?
You know, what's interesting is at the time, Mike DeWine was the Attorney General, John Kasich was the governor, and they both started task forces that looked at training, standards for becoming a police officer, ongoing training issues, policies for the use of force, for deadly force, whether or not departments have policies prohibiting racial profiling. And, you know, 5 years later, now we're under the George Floyd protests. And the Kasich group puts out an annual report kind of giving us a progress on what's been going on. And I think 68% of the 850 or so law enforcement agencies in Ohio have adopted policies on use of force, deadly force, racial profiling. The basic standards for becoming a police officer have been improved. For example, Ohio didn't require a high school diploma or passing a drug screen. Those are now requirements. Training went from, I think, 650 hours for basic training up to 737 hours. The sticking point, though, came with the annual training for current officers. And it had been like 4 hours. Mike DeWine, as AG, recommended that be increased by tenfold. There was kind of like a big pushback on like who's going to pay for this training. The state provided some funding in the first budget, so they're able to increase the hours to 11 hours and then up to 20 hours. But now it's at nothing because the funding dried up. Yeah. And Michael Navarre, who's the chief of the Oregon City Department up in the Toledo area, he served on that Kasich task force. And he said, you know, if you can't afford to be training your officers and doing at least 40 hours, then maybe you shouldn't be a police department. You should contract with the neighboring community or with the county sheriff's office.
Maybe what distance learning has taught us all here, during this pandemic is you can do webinar police training now and cut the cost. Anyway, let's get to the COVID-19. What these protests have meant for the spread of coronavirus in Columbus remains to be seen. The demonstrations certainly distracted from the pandemic this week, but it's still very much with us. Ohio now has nearly 38,000 cases of coronavirus and 2,355 Ohioans have died from COVID-19. Soon zoos, movie theaters, indoor sports centers will reopen. Trampoline centers, Terry and Sam's favorite, they'll reopen. Amusement parks apparently are also going to reopen soon. The governor says he wants students back in the classroom this fall.
We fully intend to have school in the fall. We have goals to have kids back in the classroom. 2, the date for starting school is solely within the power of the local school board.
Laura, that's a big disclaimer. We want them back, but it's out of our control, which of course it is by law. But the state's going to try to help out these school districts get back into the classroom.
Right. You can hear him kind of hedge his bets on this and saying that, you know, we don't really know where the virus is going to be and the decisions are going to be at the local level and that they're going to develop protocol to try and help the schools return to the classroom in the safest possible manner. But, you know, polls show that parents are not super confident about sending their kids back to school.
Right. And I think the biggest problem, I think what we've lost is what is the real problem? The pandemic is affecting the economic situation. And until you get rid of the pandemic, you won't improve the economic situation. People are not going out and they're not going to send their kids out there. What's going to be the interesting thing is what are the rules in a school with teachers and children? How do you make that work? And I think we're going to have a second surge and then a third surge, and we're going to all run back home and we're going to lock them down.
Laura, on the school reopening, it's going to cost money to put these safeguards in place, whether it's shifting students from day to day, separating desks, buying extra cleaning supplies. And school districts are getting their budgets cut, at least as far as the state is concerned. Any word on additional state financial help for schools to help them reopen?
Well, I don't think the money's going to come from the state. I think that they'll probably use some of that CARES Act funding to help defray some of the costs. But you're right, the state's going to cut, and you know they'll be able to make up some of that through the federal government funding. But I'm not really sure, you know, on balance, how they're going to afford to make all these changes that that we're describing here.
I want to get to election changes. Our election law expert is Terry Casey. He worked for the Franklin County Board of Elections. Basically, we want to keep things pretty much the way they are. The legislature's basically, the House approved plan says that the governor can't mess with elections anymore without checking with them first. And they've shortened the window for applying for a mail-in ballot. Now you can't wait until the Saturday before the election. You have to apply for your ballot a week before. Terry, do these changes make sense? Do they limit voting? Is this enough to satisfy the many folks who are going to turn to mail-in voting this fall?
Ohio still has a very wide open, I would call it liberal voting system in terms of people's ability to vote. So I don't think it's going to make a major difference. The main problem is if a lot of people are going to use the mail system and they wait till the Friday or Saturday before the election, the mail system was relatively slow in this past election. So I think this is more to accommodate the post office and some of the problems they were having, particularly during the virus. So hopefully the post office is operating better. But the good thing in Ohio, you're going to be able to vote early, roughly a month prior, in person at a Board of Elections location in your county, or by mail, or on election day. So people have got a lot of options, and our system is much better than, say, in New York State, where you can, with a few exceptions, only vote on election day. So Ohio's got a lot of flexibilities. And the key thing, remember the old phrase, early and often. And also, like in Franklin County, you can check on their website to see, and they notify you by email that they've received your request, that they've mailed it out. You can check and they'll send and say it's been received. So there's a lot of pluses with the system we have. We just need to get people to start early and not wait till the last few days.
Sam, I want to get your take. Your work is with Common Cause, voter access. What do you think of this plan?
Our tactics are changing now. We realize since 2005, we've had the absentee ballot, but we have not maximized the absentee ballot. Unfortunately, a pandemic created an opportunity for us. So our tactics are changing. We got a 5-for-5 approach now. Each person gets 5 people that they take to a computer, they register them to vote. And then once they're registered to vote, they work with them to get a mail ballot. And then they get that mail ballot. So now all the things we used to have to do and going through neighborhoods, we don't have to do now, do anymore. All we do is carry in your backpack a laptop that allows you to do all these things, and that's what we're going to do.
All right,
we're going to maximize it.
Let's get to our last topic of changing campaigns. Amid all this, Ohio State University picked a new president this week. Christina Johnson comes to OSU from the State University of New York system, where she served as chancellor. She replaces Michael Drake, who is retiring after 5 years on the job. She's a businesswoman, a top official in the Obama administration. She's also held top jobs at universities around the country, including Johns Hopkins and Duke. She brings with her her wife, Veronica Meinhard, a longtime college fundraiser. Johnson reflected on the pandemic and the protest as she accepted the job, saying the American dream is flickering but not extinguished.
In difficult times, when the present is uncertain and upsetting and the future is murky, I've always found it helpful to double down on my own guiding principles and our institutional principles, which must be safety first, protect the core mission.
What are some of the reasons why trustees chose Christina Johnson to be OSU's next president?
Well, I think that her strong engineering background is a big plus, and her in business, the business and engineering schools are kind of crown jewels for Ohio State. And also I think that, both she and her wife are former college athletes. So I think that the fact that, a lot of the problems that President Drake's team faced were linked to athletics. The marching band scandal when he first arrived, the Strauss investigation, and the lawsuits stemming from that. Urban Meyer's suspension. So maybe, having experience in all these different areas was kind of made her a good fit for Ohio State.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Sam, we're running out of time. Lots to talk about this week. It's been a crazy 3 months. Let's get to our off-the-record parting shots, and we will start with you, Sam Gresham.
I think the future is going to be murky for this country until we solve this open wound. There are tremendous opportunities now. We have to take advantage of it.
Are you optimistic?
I'm till I see some signals and progress. No, I'm not. We've been here before, 5-6 times.
All right, Terry Casey, your final thought.
Watch the Columbus schools in the next couple of months. They want to go this fall for a property tax levy, but they've got $300+ million cash on hand for the 50,000 students. The question is, can they really justify what they need the money for and how they'll use it?
And Laura Bischoff, your final thought.
Yeah, I think that part of the police reforms is going to include a push for more disclosure about why an officer leaves a department. Right now, that disclosure is voluntary, and there's been a push off and on to make it mandatory, so that the new hiring department has a better idea of why that officer left the previous department.
All right, my final thought is just a word of thanks to our reporters here at WOSU, Paige Flager, Adora Namigade, and Nick Evans in particular, who have been down amidst all the protests, but all of the reporters for all of the publications and TV stations, radio stations around Central Ohio who have been down there trying to bring this story to their viewers and their readers, and dealing with a lot of things, and we appreciate them. We will continue to provide thoughtful coverage of COVID-19 and the protests. And coming up next on WOSU TV, a PBS NewsHour special, Race Matters, America in Crisis. Judy Woodruff and the NewsHour team will look at this week's racial strife and also racial disparities and injustices and where we go from here. That's going to do it for Columbus on the Record. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.